second game against Delta Fox does give them a little bit of an edge in a tiebreaker scenario. Delta Fox will be playing a little bit later on tonight, so we'll have to see. But starting off with the picks and bans, right away we see some pretty standard stuff. The Malzahar has been one of the more popular support picks in the Challenger Series. That's banned away. The Jace and the LeBlanc are both things that Phoenix has used to utmost success in so far.
Right, and a big thing to point out is the fact that we're on patch 7.4. I think it's the first time we're seeing it in the competitive scene. I'm not exactly sure if it's maybe been used in other regions, but it is not the biggest patch. 7.3 targeted a lot more OPs. This patch, you know, a little bit of quirky nerfs and stuff like that, but nothing too huge. As we see Goldcoin United banning the Soraka. That's a champion that's been seeing a little bit priority going up for some teams. We saw Afromu use it 2 weeks ago to extreme success, and it's going to be something that might be targeted a little bit more going to you know, the rest of patch 7.4.
This is, of course, something we also saw Team Gates utilizing themselves in previous weeks. Just the fact that they use those utility and those sustained supports to try to circumvent some of their weaknesses in the 2 versus 2 laning phase. They were swapping around the map a little bit more last week, and we did see some improvements out of their overall team play across the board, but Team Gates still have a lot of things to show up in and outside of champions like this. It does look like that Varus, the kind of top pick still, even though Lethalities took a little bit of a hit, he's still going to be a first pick locked in.
Right, that's kind of the big story for this patch is the lethality nerfs. Ghostblade nerf, Black Cleaver nerf, Edge of Night nerf. None of them too significant, so you can expect to see pretty much the similar builds as on the flip side, Team Gates grabs both Camille and Ryze, two of the strongest picks previously in both top and mid lane positions. So Team Gates looks like they're showing their solo laners already.
Yeah, this is something that we haven't actually seen. The fact that Camille's not been banned and the fact that Team Gates is going to be able to pick it up for themselves. I do believe that Alorum hasn't really gotten a chance to show us his stuff on Camille. And I mean, in combination with the Ryze, these are two of the most banned solo laners in competitive play.
Yeah, and for good reason. I mean, both of them have huge individual and team playmaking potential. Camille can be that kind of annoying split pusher or can be a great engage tool for your team and soloing out backlines. Ryze can set up the 1-3-1, does great single target damage, but then can also make huge plays with his ultimate. So there's a good reason that these two champs have been heavily prioritized so far.
I mean, Ryze also has a ridiculous amount of wave clear too, so once you wind up scaling into the later stages of the game, we're going to wind up having two powerful picks on their hands, but Goldcoin United is not going to be deterred by this one. They're going to be going with the Kha'Zix, which is the tried and true pick in the jungle, even on this patch, and the Renekton, which has been a bit of a unique pick specifically against the Camille.
Yeah, and I actually like that a lot. I think there's two options when you see that Camille pick come in. You can basically take the Poppy, which doesn't really win the matchup that hard. A little bit better with the most recent nerfs to Camille, but you end up playing a tank champion. It's hard to really have a huge influence over your actual laning phase, mostly farming, going even, and maybe setting up some dives, best case scenario. Renekton has the ability to actually win the matchup, a lot more aggressive champion. Solo, a fairly aggressive player, so it makes sense to see him go for that option versus the Poppy. And then Team Gates rounding it out, matching junglers. So there's a little bit of a mismatch in the AD carry and mid lane position. We'll have to see how that influences bans. Team Gates looking like they are going to target the mid lane a little bit.
Yeah, and it's actually very interesting to see them go with the Elise. Maybe just something that the Odd Orange is more comfortable with. The Lee Sin has kind of been his fallback. He hasn't picked that one up. The Graves is available, which is kind of considered one of the stronger junglers on 7-4, and that has actually fallen through picks and bans entirely.
Right, and I mean, they still have a... I mean, it's surprising to see the Graves go through. I mean, we talk about the lethality nerfs, Graves being one of the biggest users of those items, but I mean, the nerfs weren't huge. Those are still great items to build, and Graves himself didn't really receive any nerfs, so definitely a little surprising to see him not get prioritized here, but it makes some sense. As expected, Goldcoin United targeting the AD carry position, banning out the Ashe and Jhin, the two other kind of S-tier picks for that role, and then we see the Cassiopeia being the last ban as well for Team Gates. Another mid lane pick. No surprise.
4 whole bans out of their 5 being used specifically against Phoenix. So this may be something. Strumpus, of course, is going to have his own champion pool tested. There's still things like the Orianna, rather safe pick available. The Azir is something that Strumpus has fallen back on to himself, but I mean, this is Phoenix we're talking about. He might want to take that for himself.
Yeah, I mean, the thing too is if you ban like this, the concern is that Phoenix is just going to take Corki. He's a great Corki player, but Corki was nerfed on this patch. We talked about the fact that the rockets, the regular size ones, are not as strong, and it's a lot more about hitting the big ones. So Corki overall has been nerfed fairly hard, I'd say, on this patch. So Goldcoin United's going to grab Karma and Orianna, like you said, kind of one of the only other standard control mages left available with these bans. And Team Gates is now going to get their last pick of the AD carry. See who they grab here.
There's a lot of shield potential from the side of Goldcoin United. So they have a very powerful top laner, they have a very powerful AD carry, and a jungler that can dish out a lot of damage. But On the other side, we do wind up seeing is going to be the Caitlyn picked up as an AD carry here. So that's another Caitlyn Lulu lane is a bully lane in and of itself. Now it's going up against the Varus and the Karma, which is kind of the other bully lane.
Right. I think we saw, the Caitlyn Lulu being used to pretty big success last week. I believe it was by E United who was doing that, and they were able to take turrets extremely early and just dominate 2v2. But against a Varus and Karma, it is a little bit harder to do that, and we'll have to see if Team Gates can execute a similar strategy here.
Yeah, Team Gates definitely has some very powerful champions across all of their roles, but Goldcoin United definitely seems to have a bit more of a game plan. They have the shields to protect the carries they need. They want to wind up winning at least that top lane matchup against the Camille and starting to snowball that Renekton. Want to see if Solo, I mean, he's been pretty on point with some of his teleport usage so far in the Challenger Series, but a lot of this early game may be decided with that top lane matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, the Elise is a champion that is extremely strong in ganking early, so we could see some kind of game plan where both teams are going up to the top side trying to influence that early while both kind of bully bot lanes just to sustain on their own.
We can see here, Goldcoin United and Team Gates, they have their champions. We're about to be getting onto the rift for game number 1. Of course, this is the final week of the Challenger Series. So far, every single team has been able to take the 2-0 against Team Gates. It's going to be very, very crucial for Goldcoin United in this series to try to do the same thing. Their playoff lives are still pretty much on the line. They're at 6 points. If they don't wind up taking a 2-0 here, they could wind up into a tie with Big Gods Jackals, with Delta Fox. There's a lot of messy math that comes with that.
Right, and then you get into the whole crazy tiebreaker situation, which I don't think any team really wants to end up in here today. So Goldcoin United posed to avoid it, but they do have to. I mean, they can still get into other tiebreaker situations. Yeah. the Challenger Series is a little bit of a mess in that sense, where you gotta some kind of complex mathematics to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's what happens when everybody winds up going 1-1 against each other. It feels like the EULCS last year.
I didn't watch that.
Well, we are going to take a look at game number 1 here as Goldcoin United and Team Gates both pretty standard starts across the board. Now, one of the things that has kind of been a little bit of a weakness for both of these teams has been their early game and kind of where they're going to wind up going. Goldcoin United they've been able to fall back on some very strong vision control around objectives. Madlife has definitely been stepping up his game as well as the entire teams when it comes to Baron control and late game dragon control, but they never really get all too much traction. And that's where Team Gates has also really struggled to get a footing, is just kind of where they want to be in the early game.
Right. Goldcoin United's early game very much feels dependent on Phoenix actually being able to step up and make big things happen. Often on his own, they don't seem to have great jungle mid synergy or jungle bot lane synergy, and they don't move around the map super effectively in the early game, which is something that seems to have held them back, and why they ended up in a lot of these 1-1s is because they couldn't secure that kind of early game lead. And I mean, to be fair, Madlife didn't join the team until the second week of the Challenger Series, and he probably had a period of time where he had to get used to North America as a whole. It's his first time playing internationally, on an international team, excuse me. I mean, obviously he's been to plenty of international tournaments.
We do see that Team Gates starting off on the Raptor camp for the Odd Orange. Of course, if you wind up having the Elise, one of the strengths you do have from that explosive Spider Link level 1 and a little bit of Elise from either the solo laners is to clear out that very powerful Raptor camp early on and then go for your buff afterwards. We did wind up seeing the exact same thing. Started for the side of Goldcoin United with the use of the Orianna command attacks. So both junglers on a very similar path so far.
Yep, as we see Vincent getting chunked out heavily early on. That is not good for a bully lane with no sustain. It's going to be hard for Team Gates to really come back from that one. They're going to have to concede the first couple of waves of pushing here.
And this has kind of been an Achilles heel for Team Gates. I mean, across the board, they've had their own struggles throughout the Challenger Series, but the bottom lane matchups, the 2v2 scenarios where Vex and Vincent have been getting -10, -20 kind of CS disadvantages for themselves, whereas all across the board, it kind of winds up bleeding out. You wind up having scaling mid laners like the Rise and the Azir, which is something that Strumpus has continuously gone back for, and then you wind up having the Odd Orange having to try to cover for too many places at too many different points in time.
Right, it is very hard to jungle from a team that's losing a lot of its lanes. You end up having to hold turrets and try and defend dives, and you can't quite path as efficiently as you really want to. So it is one of the positions that is most affected by the rest of the team, the jungler, of course. So Odd Orange has been struggling to really stand out, but then again, the whole team has been floundering a little bit.
Well, on the opposite side, as you have Team Gates kind of struggling for their own identity, Goldcoin United has kind of come into one of their own. As we did mention, they had a rough couple of early weeks, and they have split more series than we thought would come out from this team. But last week, they took down Delta Fox 2-0, which is going to help immensely if we get into a tiebreaker situation. We've definitely seen some of their laners step up a little bit more. Phoenix has really looked like his old Team Liquid self. Solo, when he's on those carry-centric champions, when he's playing things along the lines of this Jace where they picked up in that poop composition that they wound up winning with, has looked really, really solid just in time.
Right, we see some interesting jungle pathing here by both teams. Goldcoin United, early on, solo pushed in the top lane and dropped a ward onto the Krugs, essentially, letting Santorin know that he's safe to go up there and take them. Santorin invades, gets the counter jungle off. Odd Orange kind of does the same thing on the flip side, but because his bot lane is getting pressured so hard, he does not feel safe to actually do that counter jungling. And he doesn't even bother going for a gank from behind, trying to help hit the rest of his bot lane out. He just decides to head out because he's afraid of a counter gank potentially. I don't think they knew where Santorin was on the map. So small advantage there for Santorin, able to counter jungle away one camp.
That's one of those things that comes with the pressure you gain from a better lane advantage. Like we already talked about, Team Gate's bottom lane has been struggling. The push in from level 1 at that point where Vincent took a lot of damage coming out from the Karma and the Varus poke just set them behind just a little bit. And you see them getting advantages in this top lane here. Solo's Renekton pickup, just bullying Alorum's Camille.
Right, already down 10 CS, it's going to get worse. He's very low. He can't quite threaten the dive without the help of the jungler. Looks like Solo's going to maybe back off here, but not an ideal start at all for Team Gates. Already down close to 1,000 gold just off the back of some of this laning and jungling.
Yeah, we already saw a couple of defensive itemizations early on. Alorum has gone with the Doran shield in this matchup since it is one of those lanes that Renekton can beat the Camille in if you wind up playing it extremely well. But as you mentioned, across the board, CS advantages just kind of culminating in some gold leads. We did wind up having Santorin's Kha'Zix go back early on, pick up a very fast Caulfield Warhammer. Even though the jungle CS may not be super indicative of something along the lines of a straight gold advantage, having a 10 CS advantage just straight off of the fact that you were able to get that safe invade just goes to show that prioritizing getting this Kha'Zix a slight advantage in the jungle is something that Goldcoin United is looking to do.
Right, but I like what Team Gates has done thus far. They kind of reacted. They put a lot of vision down the bot river. Going to try and get their eyes on Santorin. And their bot lane looks like mostly has stabilized. They're still kind of at a little pot disadvantage given the way that Mash and Mad Life started. Of course, Mash going for the longsword 3-pot start, 3 biscuits in this case, is something that Caitlyn really can't do to match. She wants to go for that BF sword power spike on her first back, whereas Mash Me on Varus is able to build a lot more of those longsword-based items.
Yeah, going towards that lethality build, but it does look like the first lethal move is going to be made by Goldcoin United on this bottom lane. Santorin's going to jump and get exhausted. Vincent takes a lot of damage as that piercing arrow strikes across Team Gate's bottom lane, but they escape with their lives. Right,
but they only had to trade 1 flash for 3 summoners. You just had Mad Life flashing forward to try and force the tether to go off, and as a result, Team Gates has to burn everything but their heal, essentially. So that is another rough disadvantage to have to deal with for their bot lane. And, I mean, that also hurts because they had put so much vision down the bot side. The fact that basically Santorin was basically able to walk up into the river, didn't really need to do any crazy creative pathing there to set that one up.
So that means that that bottom lane that has been a little bit hard-pressed in the early stages of this game may be just a bigger target on themselves with all those summoner spells down, although it does look like that the Odd Orange himself has kind of just been going for a little bit more of a power farm kind of style. He did have to wait for that entire top side to kind of respawn. We mentioned the Kha'Zix going in, stealing the Krugs away, putting down a little bit of vision. Odd Orange, he warded up that bottom lane, tried to keep that bottom lane safe, but he really does need to wind up catching up now. 24 compared to 40 CS in the jungle.
And the tough thing is the fact that with having pressure lanes in both the top and bottom, it's very hard to react to as a jungler, and Goldcoin United can really pick their opponent, you know, where they really want to hit them hard, because snowballing the top side's huge, snowballing the bot side's huge. Both of these are matchups that can get out of control. You end up with a Varus way ahead. That flat pen that comes from the lethality build becomes brutal. A lot of the people on Team Gates don't really build armor. They don't have a great front line. So if the Varus gets ahead, that can be extremely difficult to deal with.
Not to mention that one of the more stable sources of AD on Team Gates would then be the Caitlyn. As we always mention, the kind of mid-game plateau that Caitlyn winds up having. You end up snowballing the advantages of Varus. The Caitlyn's going to take even longer and longer to ramp up. And then you're putting her on the same kind of tier as the Ryze, who eventually is going to deal damage, but is still one of those later stage game carries. And this has kind of been some of the pitfalls that Team Gates has kind of picked themselves into. They often go for these late game scaling carries. They try to drag it out and go for these late game objective fights. But teams like Goldcoin United, who are a little bit more organized, have a little bit more control of, you know, the entire map, have really kind of been the Achilles heel and a big reason why Team Gates hasn't gotten anything yet.
Renekton with the Fairy Charm. That's an interesting one, especially considering, like, even if you're going to build into something that kind of needs that mana rejuvenation item, but why not just hold on to it, buy a couple control wards with that gold, and try and get some vision up on the top side, because currently he's playing with no wards. I don't know. That one's a little bit of a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, I mean, Solo may just being a little bit confident here, but with the Renekton going in on the Camille, you can see the damage output being put down by Solo's top lane choice here. So maybe a little gutsy, but still kind of showing that he does have at least knowledge of this matchup and the way he needs to play it to continue to aggress on Aloran.
Right, he's almost always had a health lead, trading really well against the Camille. It is definitely Renekton's favorite matchup, but he's playing it pretty well. Just a little surprising with the item build there. I'm not gonna say I like that one too much.
I mean, I can't necessarily think of anything off the top of my head that he would build into, but I could assume that maybe he was going for a control ward and just wound up misclicking and picking up.
Yeah, it's right in that same area, of course. The control ward, recommended items.
Hey man, at this point I'm just trying to make good excuses here, but Solo continuing to push forward. Fairy Charm, be damned, getting a decent amount of damage on Aloran, but Camille, having picked up the Phage here, does have a little bit of damage spike in her own, but Santorin's kind of coming around the backside here. Aloran thought he was safe and was going for a recall, but in comes the Kha'Zix. He's going to leap and pounce forward. First blood picked up by Santorin.
Able to also get the assist onto Solo. That's huge. This also lets them push in the top wave. They can get this one very low. They already have the TPs forced out of both top laners, so there's no way to teleport in to defend this one. Strumpus is going to have to roam up here on his own, actually, to clear this out. And that's a huge first blood. We talk about how important it is to get the carry versus carry matchup essentially in the top lane snowballing in your favor. Good job by Santorin pathing behind after Solo had already chunked out Aloran.
And this wasn't even necessarily the fact that Goldcoin United had vision on that area of the map. It was just the fact that this is the lane dominant style that they're able to aggress against Team Gates. They went for, the counter matchup in the top lane. They've gone for a very bully-centric bottom lane. And just the overall map pressure, the overall CS advantage that they've had are just letting them do these things, while Team Gates, they've got vision down, but they're not in the right place to be able to respond to these.
Right, I mean, you can even look at the mid lane, the fact that Phoenix basically has a 30 CS lead there in a matchup that is generally not considered great for Orianna. So, definitely a little surprising to see that, but I mean, Team Gates, they had always been criticized a little bit for being potentially a little weaker individually, and I think that's one of the things people pointed as one of the big strengths for Goldcoin United was the fact that they should have better players than a lot of the other teams in the Challenger Series, and you get to see what happens when those two teams meet up. They're generally losing.
Well, that's very true, and that's the reason why it was so surprising to see Goldcoin United kind of still fighting for their playoff spot at this point. The other United team, E-United, has less overall LCS and competitive experience than Goldcoin United, but are sitting pretty in first place currently, whereas Goldcoin United are tied at second place in the table, but does look like they are going to be exerting a little bit of that LCS experience onto Aloran, who in the top lane has to use the Hextech ultimatum to just try to run away, but he is going to get flashed after, and Santorin picks up his second kill.
That was a really good attempt by Aloran of getting out of there. He almost did it, but was just not quite able to do so. And Team Gate struggling to make a play on the flip side of the map. They're looking for something, but it doesn't look like they're going to find anybody.
Well, they do have wards down by the Cloud Drake area, although it is only a Cloud Drake, and we'll have to see if Odd Orange wants to prioritize that. But at the same exact time, just meandering around the bottom side of the jungle, they're not getting anything done, and Goldcoin United might be getting this first tower blood straight over to Solo.
Right, he's going to be able to get the isolated turret gold all for himself. He's also going to bounce the wave back to his favor, denying Aloran from the wave coming in. They're in a tough spot, and now Team Gates is opening up onto the Dragon.
So they will get themselves a Cloud Drake for that trade, but that's yet another kill going over to the opposing jungle with an assist on your solo lane carry champion. All of that gold goes over to the side of Solo, and he's able to go back and pick himself up a Black Cleaver off of that play.
And it's also nice that the kills actually went on to Kha'Zix, which I think you could argue is a better usage of those kills should the game not snowball horribly out of control. Obviously, Renekton early with kills can be a total menace, but should the game stall out a little bit, I think you prefer to see a fed Kha'Zix on your team. So Goldcoin United, either way, going to be pretty happy the fact that they're able to pick up 2 kills on the top side.
And that, of course, means that now the top lane is a bit of a longer lane, so if they want to swap up their dual lane, if they want to move the Renekton around the map, they have that potential to do so. It does also mean that the side of Team Gates has to be extremely aware that no matter who they send up there will have a very long way to run before they wind up getting to a safe spot in home base.
And this is something that we want to see Goldcoin United kind of push this lead really heavily. We want to see them show that last week that one great game wasn't just some kind of fluke. We want to see them be able to close these kinds of games out quickly where you do have a huge lead on the top side of the map. Can you rotate that to other places? Can you make a bot play? Can you make a mid play? What does your Renekton do with this lead? Does he just keep trying to kill the Camille 1v1? Or is he able to get open and open the rest of the map up?
Yeah, coming into last week, Goldcoin United and Delta Fox, who they did play and beat 2-0 last week, or had the longest average game time. We're really looking for Goldcoin United to kind of step up their early game presence and try to, like you said, just snowball those advantages. The Team Gates, though, going to get a little aggressive themselves, do get a blue buff steal away, and Odd Orange is in that blue side jungle still. relatively undetected, but Alorum's just going to wind up coming back up here against Solo, but he's in a bit of a sticky situation. But on the bottom side here, we do see Mad Life trying to push up and get some more forward vision for Gold Coin United themselves. Vex takes a large chunk of damage, and looks like he's not quite done yet. He's still getting poked down under that tower.
Yeah, it looks like Gold Coin United were trying to set something up on the bot side, hoping to find a fight. Unable to do so because Auto Orange was on the top side stealing away that blue buff. Not quite what they wanted. Santorin's going to have to back off, go to his red buff, and they're not even going to be able to contest the blue buff here that Team Gates is grabbing as well. So they just lost both blue buffs for nothing, essentially.
Yeah, so Team Gates making some map movements of their own, although because of the 2 kills in the first tower gold, they are still down by about 3,000 or so gold, give or take a couple hundred. They do have a Cloud Drake on their side, so they have that potential. And this bottom lane matchup, while we have been saying that, Vex and Vincent have been tried and tested, they blew 3 summoners to an early gank beforehand, they are not falling behind in the CS, actually have a slight 3 or 4 CS advantage here, which you would expect from a Caitlyn lane, but specifically from Vex and Vincent, this is a marked improvement, especially if they were down summoners.
And just off camera there, Santorin was able to blow Oddorn's flash in the bot river, so a little small advantage once again going to Gold Coin United's favor there. They have to find a way to kind of blow this game open. It's a 3K gold lead at 15 minutes. Obviously great, but you don't want to stall out. You want to keep making stuff happen. And the CS lead has ballooned in the top lane now, almost 50. But what can Solo do for his team?
And as we just saw there, too, a lot of the gold is concentrated on the top side of the map for the side of Gold Coin United. Hundreds of gold leads in the top, mid, and the jungle matchups here. Santorin's going to try to exert a little bit of pressure from that, but he is going to get rooted up here by the Rune Prison coming out from Strumpus. A lot of damage gets traded back, but as soon as Phoenix shows up, Santorin's able to get out.
Right, there was a little lack of vision control there by Santorin. Tried to contest the Wolf camp, but walked past the Pink War in the meantime, letting Strumpus know he can collapse. Solo roams down. Now they're trying to 2-man pressure this turret, but it would be nice if your jungler was still healthy enough to help out.
That's true. There was only a couple members on the side of Team Gates there, whereas a crowd of 3 could have potentially forced a little bit more damage down onto that tower from Gold Coin United. However, this is Solo continuing to exert his pressure on top lane. You mentioned the CS advantage. Now he's able to roam around. He's able to create pressure elsewhere on the map, and that's only going to increase that CS lead that Phoenix has in the mid lane as well.
Right, and slow and steady can always win the race as well. You can just chip these turrets down over and over. You have the push advantages in both the mid and bot lane. Despite the fact that Orianna, generally, like we said, has a rougher time against Ryze, Strumpus has not been able to keep up with Phoenix, who also has the CS lead and has generally had the pressure advantage in this lane.
The big person I'm looking for now on the side of Gold Coin United to kind of dictate what the next move is going to be Santorin. When we talked to him in week 1, they did not have Mad Life yet. They did not have him on the actual, for the Challenger Series games, but they mentioned that he was going to be a leading voice, and Santorin wanted to step up in and of himself to try to make some plays happen, but it looks like it's going to be Team Gates trying to make something happen. But a flash forward from Mass to change the corruption go down as well. The teleport's channeled in by Solo. The Wild Book has to get used on Vincent himself. A flash forward from Solo. He gets exhausted, but still gets the kill through, but he's going to get rooted up, stunned up, cupcaked up, and he winds up going down. The teleport comes in from Alorum, and the Octagon gets thrown down onto Phoenix. He's caught out.
Huge shockwave.
The shockwave does wind up locking up everybody on the backside from Team Gates, and that's going to let Phoenix get out of there. It's just a 1-for-1 trade, but Alorum, hookshot will be available. Now seconds is going to wind up jumping forward onto Phoenix. The cleanse has to get used. Alorum flashes forward. He's able to pick up a kill, and that's a 2-for-1 for Team Gates.
Right, that's a huge mistake out of Gold Coin United. The fact that the teleport that Ryze had brought him into the team fight. He was able to lock up Solo underneath the turret, who dove a little too deep trying to finish off the kills onto the jungler in bot lane. He goes down. Then Phoenix was roaming around from the bot side trying to assist, and he just gets turned on by Alarum, who TP'd in. And then it was a really nice shockwave by Phoenix to almost buy himself enough time to get out there. He got a 3-man shockwave onto the backline that was trying to follow up onto the Camille, but unable to ultimately get out as the hookshot became available again.
And once that teleport completed from Alorum, there was no way that Gold Coin United could get past that bottom lane tower, and Phoenix was on the side of the map to try to save Solo. And at that point, his shockwave, like you said, was a really great shockwave. Had there been a Varus arrow or just something else to follow up, like a Kha'Zix jumping in, that would have been devastating for Team Gates. But positioning errors from the side of Gold Coin United do open up an opportunity for Team Gates. You know, they still have the gold advantage in the side of Gold Coin United, but if they make too many plays like that, could be Team Gates' window to get back in this one, as Vex is going to have to burn his own flash to get out of a sticky situation in a 1v2.
Huge mistake out of Gold Coin United. We're talking about how we want to see them finally start snowballing. They are struggling to do so, struggling to get anything going. They can't even quite get vision control as Strumpus is able to chunk out Santorin there. Team Gates looking like they got a little bit of a jaw on them, not going to go down without a fight.
It's true. Team Gates, on the flip side of this, they're looking for their first win in the Challenger Series in general. The only other Challenger teams who have gone winless was Enix last split. They were 0-10 in Team Gates. They do not want to repeat that kind of history. They're looking for a win here. And against Goldcoin United, one of the most hyped up teams coming into the Challenger Series, that could be very, very impressive.
They're not quite out of the woods yet, but you know, the gold lead, like we said, has not grown that much. It's still around the 3,000 gold lead. The Renekton will start dropping off, you know, not for another 10 minutes, as we see Phoenix able to pick up that mid turret on his own now, blows the ultimate, chunking out Strumpist.
Yeah, blue is Ghost as well, so Strumpist not going to have that summoner spell available to himself. Team Gates looked like they wanted to collapse on that one. That tower had been chunked away from before when Solo roamed down last time. And just the reactions from Team Gates, they do play, we like to call it a very solo queue style. They play extremely reactive to what their opponents are doing. Last week, we saw them making some early moves on the map. This time, we saw a couple of blue buff steals. They traded a dragon for, you know, the top tower and, you know, what was eventually 2 kills in the top lane. But we want to see them be a little bit more proactive. And against a team like Goldcoin United, who, as we mentioned, does kind of stall out in the early game sometimes, like they are doing a little bit right now. Team Gates getting this Mountain Drake, getting their second one of the game, continuing to kind of play towards that late game win condition of the Ryze and the Caitlyn combination. We'll see if they can hold on.
Yep, and I mean, that's one of the old school tricks, so to say. The enemy team on blue side goes for the blue buff handoff between the jungler and mid laner. That puts extra resources to the top side. You start the dragon off. Yep. Team Gates basically able to grab dragon off the back of that play. Santorin had also recalled, so that also makes it a little easier to do.
That's true. When the enemy jungler's not there and there's no fear of a fight or a smite steal, that's a little bit better for you. But he does wind up picking up his warrior enchantment and a black cleaver for himself. Black cleaver and a Sterix gauge picked up on the top side of the map for Solo, whereas across the rift we have a Trinity Force already completed for Camille. On the opposite side, we have the Runic Echoes enchantment picked up for the side of Elise from the Odd Orange. And I mean, so far, Ryze has also picked up his Rod of Ages. He's going to start scaling up with that one. So itemization, fairly standard across the board.
It's going to be really hard for Team Gates now coming into the mid game to hold on to this bottom outer turret. As soon as you lose that mid lane turret, it opens up the map so much for the enemy team to invade deep into your jungle and have a lot of paths to getting off a flank to your bot lane. As you see Phoenix and Santorin basically repeatedly invade into the bot side jungle of Team Gates, always looking for a roam play, and Team Gates has done a decent job standing their ground, but it's so difficult to do for more than a couple minutes in a row because there's so many opportunities for Goldcoin United here to make a play.
The wear and tear from the Karma and the Varus may eventually cook this down, and we already see Mad Life getting aggressive to try to get some forward vision into that blue side jungle from Team Gates. Like you mentioned, the mid lane opening up a lot more of this map pressure means that Goldcoin United can pretty much have free reign of that bottom side as soon as they knock down the outer tower.
Just A-ram it.
Yeah.
Just bring all 4 members down straight into lane and push it up. Sure, that works.
All random, all bottom. Or just all bottom in general, as they do want to getting that third and final outer tower for themselves.
Right, and in the meantime, Solo was in the mid lane catching the wave that Ryze was pushing in. Now he's going to run up to the top side, catch the Camille wave. He loves that kind of play where he can collect multiple minion waves from different lanes. And with that, Goldcoin United is able to break the entire outer turret line of Team Gates.
Now the big question is going to be, how do they break the inner line? They tried doing a little bit of a dive last time around on the bottom side to try to break that last outer tower. It didn't quite work out for them. Worked out for Team Gates, though. They were able to get a 2-for-1 trade. But they have slowly been increasing that gold lead now. Now about 5,000 gold in their advantage. They have some very powerful item spikes. The Morel Namicon and now Luden's Echo picked up for Phoenix's Orianna. It's going to be a very damage-oriented Orianna build.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Rift Herald is already down past 20 minutes. Can't look to use that one to snowball your lead.
That would have been very good for the Renekton pickup. I'm actually surprised we didn't see that prioritized a little bit more when they were defending the bottom lane. Might as well go pick that one up. But, I mean, that may just be an indication of how much people don't have love for the Herald like we do.
Right. I mean, to be honest, it actually wouldn't have been the worst objective to go for there. They're obviously struggling to make plays around the bot side. You can basically set up a bunch of pressure, making it look like you want to go around the bot side. Just have your Renekton push in the top wave, fall back to the Rift Herald and pick that one up. Probably uncontested with the amount of pressure that you have all over the map. So that was an option. They did not go for it. Now they're going to try and continue pressuring in all the lanes, farm up a little bit more, probably not do too much until the next dragon becomes available, which will be another Mountain Drake. Obviously one of the best dragons to grab in the game, helps you close the game out in terms of taking turrets and Baron, just all around, probably the best dragon to get.
Whether you wind up going for those inner towers because of it or you go for the Baron to then subsequently get the inner towers, it's going to be a really good tool to kind of break that inner line of turrets, which is going to be a little bit more difficult to do until you wind up scaling into the later stages of the game. But against Team Gates' composition, you don't necessarily want to get that late into the game before you start taking those towers down.
No, I mean, Team Gates, they're fine to have this take forever. I mean, obviously, they'll most likely outscale. They do have a 1-3-1 comp, which stacks up fairly well against Gold Coin United. It can make it a little annoying as long as the people that they have in the mid lane don't die. And they do have Lulu to try and protect the mid lane from any kind of dives, as we see Gold Coin United instead grouping up and trying to pressure this mid-inner turret.
Yeah, so they're grouping 4 in the mid lane and 1 on the bottom side of the map. But Command Shockwave goes out. They're trying to lock down onto Strumpus. Dropped below about half HP. The Wild Growth was used by Lulu. There's going to be a staunch defense here by Team Gates. It's an ultimate use for an ultimate use.
Yeah, Gold Coin United used the Varus ultimate as well, so despite the fact that they're not able to pick up any kills, they do chunk out Strumpus on Team Gates. That opens them up to try and move around the map a little bit more or continue pressuring around the mid lane. Looks like they're going to try and stay grouped up around mid and use this minion wave to take the turret.
It looks like round 2 here as the Odoran's going to be taking a bit of poke there. That tower dropping below half HP. Now Gold Coin United getting a lot of tower shots down as these minion waves continue to pile up. And with the established forward pressure from the bottom side of the map, the fact that Alarm is still struggling against the solo Renekton, who is extremely ahead, means that they're going to be getting a little bit more damage with each minion wave. But Solo now maybe caught out a little bit in the opposing jungle as the rest of Team Gates realizes they can collapse down on this, but a good command attack from Orianna is going to send Strumpus packing even though he popped the Ghost.
Right, and as great as it is that Team Gates is finding some opportunities to trade, that's not enough. You need to find the ability to pick somebody off and actually get some kills, because if you're just sitting here and getting chunked out onto your turrets, you will lose the game. As we see here, Gold Coin United's able to grab their first inner turret in the mid lane. They steal away a blue buff. They're going to back off now. Dragon will be spawning in 20 seconds. They can probably grab that one relatively uncontested, and so I mean, it's nice that Team Gates was there, but this was always the big problem that they had all Challenger Series long, is that they're in the right place to see what the enemy team is doing, but they're not actually able to do anything to stop it.
Getting a little ring around the rosy there by Gold Coin United, and just the vision control from GCU, the fact that they were moving between bottom lane and mid lane just every single time a minion wave came up, they had a little bit more pressure. Team Gates, though, trying to get their 3rd dragon of the game here. It's going to get stolen away. It looks like it will not. Team Gates able to get that one while Gold Coin United was backing off a little bit. Looks like they are going to use the Realm Ward to get themselves out. So Team Gates going to be able to get themselves the 3rd dragon.
Oh boy, Gold Coin United really struggling with their dragon control here. They are up basically 6K, 6,500 gold, and they're not able to actually pick up any dragons. 2 Mountain Drakes would have been huge for them being able to close this game out. They're struggling to actually control objectives, and now they're going for the Baron, trying to punish Team Gates for potentially overextending, going for that dragon, but it looks like it's going to be really hard for Gold Coin United to secure that one, because they really don't have any armor on anyone other than Renekton currently.
And they also pushed up onto that side of the map. They dropped a decent amount of wards as they're going up there, but they didn't necessarily have the established vision control like they did on the bottom side of the map. So a bit of a reactive kind of like adrenaline rush play of like, oh, they might be low from that, we can go and rush down this Baron, but Team Gates very wisely poking them away from that one. So Team Gates, they saw that late game condition. They could still wind up going late. And of course, you mentioned they have a 1-3-1 composition. That's one thing Team Gates has not had the entire Challenger split. It was an opportunity to go Gates.
Yeah, maybe they can do that this game. I don't think that'll be their primary condition. I mean, one of the things about Mountain Dragon is it's actually not a good dragon from behind, because you're not hitting any objectives. You're just hitting minion waves and trying to stop the other team from hitting objectives. So it's good in the sense that you've denied Gold Coin United from getting these 2 Mountain Dragons, but it's not one that you're able to use very well unless the game kind of flips on its head and Team Gates grabs control of the game back. So it's not the best dragons for them, but they're very happy to be able to steal these away from Gold Coin United, who went for a really late reset to try and heal up before the dragon. When they're so far ahead, they probably could have just set up without recalling and tried to force a fight if Team Gates tried to contest it. So another misstep by Gold Coin United. Not fatal in any sense, but definitely slowing them down.
And we are being a little bit critical of what Gold Coin United is doing in this game, but that's because we expect a lot from this team. We mentioned already the caliber, the names on this team, the fact that they have split 1-1 series with teams that we thought they could potentially take a 2-0 over, the fact that they are still fighting for playoff contention, not fighting for seeding in general, just not already qualified for the playoffs, leaves a lot of questions yet to be answered from a squad that we thought was going to be one of the top teams in Challenger, especially considering that their play is looking a little bit full of holes against the bottom-ranked team here, but they are going to wind up catching out Otto Orange as Santorin's able to jump on him. Now Strumpus had to pop his own Ghost to just run away from this one, getting a little bit of wave clear off, does wind up chunking down Phoenix a little bit. Team Gates, they're a man down, the redemption comes out from the side of GCU to heal themselves up. I don't think Team Gates could take them on a straight-up fight right here.
Nope, Gold Coin United doing a good job of finding the small advantages. They're able to pick off someone in vision control. Looks like they're going for a second onto Vincent here. He tries to flash out, but he's slowed.
He's got to use the Wild Growth right away. Lauren's going to get the slow in there from Camille. Flash out of the command shockwave there from Strumpus will save his life. So Gold Coin United looking to spring a trap on the Team Gates, but Team Gates, they blow a lot of spells and summoners, but nobody else dies. Gold Coin United going to immediately rotate up to that top lane tower, though. This is how they're breaking the inner tower.
Yeah, really good job controlling vision in the topside jungle and going aggressive when Team Gates tries to contest and get their own vision back. They're able to force out multiple flashes, pick up some kills, and now they're going to be able to pressure onto the turrets. They grab the inner turret, get a little bit of damage onto the inhibitor turret, but not going to be able to continue pressuring that one.
Yeah, Strumpus and Vex looked like they were trying to force Gold Coin United back by pressuring down into that mid lane area, but Gold Coin United has yet to lose a tower, so they were not really afraid of losing an outer mid-tier tower to the Caitlyn and the Ryze pushing, and just went for the jugular with that top lane push.
And you see the question mark pings coming in for Team Gates onto the Bear, and the fact that they don't have any vision control there means that despite the fact that Gold Coin United is low and recalling, Team Gates is scared trying to face check this and make sure they're not actually onto the Baron.
They are going to wind up securing themselves the Scuttle Crab, though, so that will get them a little bit of vision control around the area. This gives them a little bit of opportunity to clear out what Gold Coin United has established over here, although all that vision they've secured in the top lane has already net them that top tier 2 tower, so mission accomplished.
And we see Team Gates looking to get a little bit more. They've grouped up Alarum and Strumpus on the top side, wanting to get their first turret of the game, but this is a pretty healthy top lane turret, though no one on Gold Coin United is here to defend right now.
Everybody from GCU looks like they've kind of run back up the mid lane or gone down to the bottom side of the map. So Team Gates, though what might be a little bit of a risky play, has actually worked out for them to get themselves their first tower of the game. They're still at a significant disadvantage in gold, but now they have that top lane tower taken down. They've established some vision control with the Scuttle Crab and a couple of wards around the Baron Pit area. They might be looking for a pick themselves here as they think they may have found Phoenix. The hook shot goes off on one side, forces the flash out from Phoenix, but the flash and the Hextech ultimatum there to lock him down. Command Shockwave goes out, does a ton of damage to everybody else on Team Gates, but it is going to be Phoenix going down. The teleport response, though, from Solo is coming in. GCU wants to collapse. There's the first kill there for Santorin. The Dominus is popped, and that's going to be Renekton coming in as Mash picks up that kill. Strumpus now caught between a rock and a hard place. His GA is going to get popped, and as soon as he comes up, the swarm of GCU will descend upon him for a double kill picked up for Varus.
A good idea by Team Gates, trying to pick off the Orianna who was stuck in the side lane, cleaning up the minion wave. Phoenix takes a nice path and flashes out to safety, and Team Gates overextends at that point, trying to finish off the kill onto a pretty strong Orianna, and that buys enough time for the rest of Gold Coin United to collapse and finish off Team Gates and grab their first Baron buff of the game. Going to be pretty happy overall with how that play worked out for them.
Yeah, so Gold Coin United now, they have the thing they need to break the inhibitor towers now, which is going to be that Baron buff. And this was a good play here from Team Gates, but this is after they stayed for that top lane tower and then tried to take an additional play after that.
Right, I think going for Phoenix was a fine decision to go for, but once Phoenix flashed out, you have to look at saying that might be an overextension to keep going there. You've blown so many abilities to get onto him. Phoenix did a good job of dropping a lot of damage back onto Team Gates when they were trying to make that play, so they're all low, and then the good TP flank by Solo sets up the rest of these kills, and it's easy cleanup for Gold Coin United, who are able to get 3 for 1 and grab the Baron off the back of that.
And that was a 4v4 situation, even after they've killed Phoenix. So already had 3 very low members due to the command shockwave. Caitlyn was nowhere near them on the map, and she's one of their most fed members at this point. Infinity Edge, Runon's Hurricane, the rapid fire cannon. She's approaching the edge of that plateau and starting to climb back up the mountain into late game status. But now this is Gold Coin United with the Baron buff. They've taken themselves the first dragon of the game, so that's going to be an Ocean Drake. Not the most impactful, but between that and the Baron buff, this could be an extended siege that may wind up losing Team Gates the game.
But I mean, Gold Coin United, they do have a fair amount of poke on their team. Karma, Varus are able to throw out a lot of abilities. Even Kha'Zix to an extent with his empowered W. Able to harass you under turrets when you're trying to wave clear. So it's going to be tough for Team Gates to hold on here. Their wave clear is not the best. Caitlyn, you know, it's okay. You have the Kilt over Peacemaker trying to clear waves, but usually that's not enough to clear the minions out by itself, and then you need some kind of follow-up, and there's just not that much.
Yeah, and with the Baron buff minions on the side of Gold Coin United, Ryze will not be as effective as he was. Melting waves just earlier on the top side of the map. Guardian Angel also get popped, so now he just kind of has that as a defensive item. Doesn't have the second life that they may need to survive some of these extended sieges or try to turn around a dive here by Goldcoin United. They are continuing to group up in this mid lane. No, they sent Renekton down onto the bottom lane, so they got a nice 4-1 split themselves. Baron buff healthy on just about everybody except for Phoenix means that they're going to be allowed to extend this siege for at least the next minute and a half, and it's going to be up to Team Gates to either survive or try to catch somebody out as they rotate between these two lanes.
Right, it's really hard for Team Gates to do much about this. You've seen that they have their Caitlyn trap split up a little bit, some in the bot lane, some in the mid lane, and Goldcoin United is taking it slow, getting these turrets chunked out slowly. Mash getting hit a little bit as well. A little lower health than he probably wants to be, but hey, maybe that Ocean Dragon's able to sustain him up.
Yeah, well, Lauren's going to be going toe-to-toe with Solo, but that's going to be a Guardian Angel on the Renekton. We do have a Lauren, though, at level 17. A couple of items under as well. The Titanic Hydra and the Trinity Force means he can trade against that Renekton, but at the same exact time, Goldcoin United say, hey, you got your Camille on the bottom lane. We're going to rotate up towards this top lane. You got no Caitlyn traps established up here. All these minion waves pushing in means that, once again, GCU are just running Team Gates from side to side of their own base.
Right, I mean, neither team has, or Goldcoin United does not have teleports, so they have to be a little bit careful when they do this, but they're doing a really good job of avoiding those Caitlyn traps, moving around the map, and then Solo moving into the adjacent lane every time they do so. So he's moved to the mid lane now that the rest of his team is up on the top side. He is dueling Alorn pretty heavily here, getting fairly chunked out. Does have the ultimate if he needs to pop it, but he gets his GA popped instantly instead.
That's Camille things is going to look like losing a hook shot here. The Hextech ultimatum goes down. The Dominus is popped as well. If Lauren picks up this kill on the Solo, that could be devastating for GCU. They're going to have to stop the siege of that top lane inhibitor and rotate towards this mid lane just to back up their Renekton.
Right, I mean, a really well-played trade situation there by Alorn, being able to get the GA out. Solo was trying to wait until the last second to see if he was going to need to use his ultimate. Has to give up his GA passive instead. Not quite what he wanted, but not too bad for Goldcoin United. Overall, they are still able to pick up the top inhibitor without losing any members, so that's the biggest thing.
GA got popped, no members wound up going down, but they are able to, at the end of that Baron buff, secure themselves, like you mentioned, the top lane inhibitor. So that means they did wind up getting something for their troubles, but it's a bit of a scary Camille at this point now. She's going to be able to burn through the Renekton almost twice, and the Renekton needs that support. That means that split push option for the side of GCU might not be available anymore.
Right, I mean, Goldcoin United definitely struggled a little bit to extend their lead in the early mid-game, but as they got a little bit later into the 20 minutes, they were able to start picking up a lot of the inner turrets, and you see just how important it was that they did extend that lead. Already, Camille can basically 1v1 the Renekton, it seems like, so.
It's 2 items compared to 4.
Right, so that's why it's so important, the fact that Team Gates didn't get good dragons. You know, they didn't get the Infernals or something. They weren't able to pick up too many turrets. They weren't able to get many kills. Goldcoin United played relatively mistake-free in terms of deaths and giving up gold objectives. They did give up too many dragons, but overall, they've done a good job extending their lead up above 10K now at 35 minutes into the game, so they can't be too upset with their play.
Well, they did have that little bit of a mishap in the bottom lane, but they did wind up recovering, and now it's really been about them capitalizing on misplays from the side of Team Gates and running them all over Summoner's Rift. Did you see a teleport in there with the Realm Warp from Stromp that's just getting up into the face of Solo? So Team Gates trying to push out of the gates of their own base, but the poke and the prodding and all the damage from shields coming off from the side of Goldcoin United, just keeping them healthy as they continue to siege down the bottom tower. Already dropped them below half HP. Solo's going to wind up getting rooted and cupcaked and stunned up. Has to pop the Dominus. Gets a lot of shields on himself too, but that's going to wind up stopping the siege just for a brief moment.
I mean, a good attempt by Team Gates there, trying to use the Rise Realm Warp to pick off the split pushing Solo. Unfortunately, Phoenix was behind him on Orianna, able to help keep him safe, and some overall nice damage by Team Gates, but they just don't have the tools to really engage too heavily. We talked about how their team comp doesn't have a great front line. It's a very hard team comp to play from behind, because even if you are able to chunk members out, how do you lock them down and actually start killing them without the other team making a mistake? So despite some of these sieges not going perfectly for Goldcoin United, they're not really getting punished.
And we continuously saw Strompus and Odd Orange moving to the top side of the map to clear out the super minions going in towards those Nexus towers that opened up GCU to take the mid lane inhibitor tower. So now they've gotten all but the bottom lane, and then the 2 Nexus towers basically taken down for the side of GCU. They are playing this one out a little bit slower. As you did mention, they have one of the longest game times in the North American Challenger Series. It's still about 10 minutes before they wind up hitting like that 47, 48 minute mark where most of the games usually wind up ending. So even though we are saying they're playing this one a little bit slow, a little bit steady, they are pretty much on par for what we've expected from them. And that's one of the things that we've been applauding them for recently, is the fact that they finally are at this point where they look like the team we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, they're definitely obviously extremely skilled individually. Some of the team synergy stuff isn't quite there still, I'd say, but you know, they're not making any big mistakes the way that they were making in previous weeks, where they would lose big team fights around objectives and make a lot of mistakes like that.
I think the biggest thing is nobody is really dying because of the things that they're doing. Sure, they may have mispositioned and given up a dragon. Sure, they may have had a little bit of a bad dive on the bottom side of the map, but there's only 2 deaths on Phoenix and 1 death on Solo, and that makes up all the deaths on their team for the past 38 minutes. So Gold Coin United definitely playing this one a little bit closer, a little bit more tight-knit, but it looks like Team Gates, they're going to use this run work to try to go for the Elder Dragon as soon as they saw Gold Coin United going up towards the Baron. But Gold Coin have scouted this one out. They know that this play is happening, and they're looking for a fight here to try to stop Team Gates. Elder Dragon's already been burned about half HP. That's the power of 2 Mountain Dragons, but it's going to be Gold Coin United wrestling control of this objective away from Team Gates. Gates are recalling from this too. It doesn't look like they want to even fight.
Right, well, they can't. They honestly can't fight. The top, you know, Nexus turrets are already going down because of the inhibitor that's down. You see the first one drop. So Gold Coin United, the fact that they did not get baited into a trade situation thinking that they could grab the Baron for free, they react to Team Gates going for the Elder Dragon was 100% the right call. Just force them out there. You don't need to fight. Just stop them from recalling as fast as they can or taking the objective. They're able to do that. They pick up a Nexus turret, and they're able to grab a Elder Dragon as well because Team Gates did have to recall in the end. And now that they have the bottom side neutral objective off the map, they can focus on the Baron buff on the top side.
Yeah, and so GCU now going to have that aspect of the dragon, making that poke and prod they had before even more painful, as they do have an Ocean Drake under their belt, so it's going to be increased by an extra aspect, an extra 45 true damage burn from that one. And it looks like they've turned their sights to use that damage burn onto the Baron buff area. They've been establishing control around this one already. Team Gates, this might just be do or die at this point. They have to try to make something happen while the Baron is still wailing away on GCU. They're not taking a lot of damage from it, but they're a little bit split. There's the jungler on top laner there. Ottoarn did wind up getting chunked out there, so he's not going to be there. A great shockwave from Phoenix, though, locks up the back line and takes down Lulu. Alorum tries to go in, but GCU are collapsing. They've gotten the Baron. They're taking the fight, and GCU are collapsing on the Team Gates. The Realm Warp goes out, but Rise goes down before it can even complete. Did he get out with that? He got out. His body teleported at the same time, so Strampus will be able to get out from that, but it's a merry chase being led here by Santorin as the rest of his team pushes into the base of Team Gates. Santorin's actually in a 1v2 situation, going to take down Strampus, so body teleport be damned, he will go down, and this is going to be GCU taking game 1 against Team Gates.
Off the back of another massive shockwave out of Phoenix, a great play from him. Able to force out the Elisa's repel early on as well, so there's no risk of a Baron steal. They're able to win that fight easily, turn up into the mid lane where they already have the inhibitor turret down, and push in to end the game.
Yeah, so this is a very controlled game from Gold Coin United. They didn't necessarily push early game advantages as hard as we thought, but even then, around 20 minutes into the game was about a 5k gold advantage. They were slowly but steadily pressuring up for map vision. They had maybe one misstep in the bottom lane around like the 15 or 20 minute mark where they may have tried a little bit too hard to go for a dive, but overall, extremely impressive play.
Right, the big thing, of course, is the lack of dragon control is a little concerning, especially when you look at the fact that it was double Mountain Drakes, which is some of the best dragons to get when you're ahead. It helps you with your split pushing with the Renekton. It helps with your sieges. It helps with your barons. And the fact that they gave up 2 of them for free when they were in position, in a sense, to actually fight over those or not necessarily need to give them up, it shows that the team still has improvements to make.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that we were kind of hindering them for just a little bit, was the fact of the matter that their early game control wasn't necessarily as up to par as we want to see them, like to get themselves into playoff position and playoff form. Because at this point in time, yes, they've taken 1 game off of Team Gates, but they really want 2 in order to kind of potentially tie or lock up that first place position. If they're going to be doing so, you know, against teams like E United, who they split 1-1 against teams like Big God's Jackals, who they split 1-1 against, they need to lock down that early game map control.
Right, and I think you have to look at a lot of their success coming off the back of strong individual plays. A great example of that being the final fight, where they were actually able to end the game. A lot of it was from Phoenix's strong Orianna play. So you see him with the ball, zoning out the members of the team. He scares Ottoarn there with a great chunk out and with a matches ultimate as well, forcing the repel, and then the enemy team realized they have to force really hard to get involved in this, and then Phoenix drops another great ultimate, blowing up multiple members of Team Gates and setting up the rest of his team for an easy turn off Baron once they secure that one.
And this is just the culmination of everything that Gold Coin United was actually trying to go for the entire game. It was map control through vision. It was map control through minion wave management. One of the things we actually didn't touch upon all too much in that game was the fact of the matter is no matter where they were pressuring the map, it wasn't just the fact that Team Gates were able to like push them off in a tower or something like that. It was the fact of the matter that every single lane was pushing. So as soon as Team Gates pushed them off of one objective, they moved to another and just took it down.
Right. It was really hard for Team Gates to get anything going. Whenever they did get a good pickoff or something like that, the rest of them were able to get in position to come up and collapse on Team Gates. So we saw Phoenix get picked off once, and then the whole rest of his team, after a strong shockwave, finishes off the rest of the team. So it was a lot of times where Phoenix kind of got caught out of position, but would hit big ultimates to help the rest of Gold Coin United collapse in for kills.
Yeah, and there's that play in the top side of the map where Team Gates, they took their first tower, and then they went to the catch onto Phoenix. He blew the flash away, and then he was able to kind of just survive for a little bit too long. They overstayed their welcome. They dove in extremely far, and they wound up getting capitalized on by this teleport play that's going to follow up from Solo after Phoenix has laid down the damage. And this is a 4v1 situation that eventually turns into a 4v4 because Vex's Caitlyn is nowhere near this fight.
Right, and if Phoenix doesn't actually land a good shockwave there like that, they probably aren't able to collapse and actually pick up a lot of kills here. So even though Phoenix gets cut off, he does a good job surviving as best he can, makes the enemy team overextend trying to kill him. He punishes that overextension and sets up Gold Coin to pick up a number of kills, and this is what gave them their first Baron buff. And then with the Baron buff, they didn't necessarily play it perfectly. We saw, Solo losing his GA without popping his ultimate, stuff like that happening. But like we said a number of times, none of their mistakes were backbreaking. They were minimal ones at most, or potentially giving up dragons that the enemy team can't really use. It was situations like that.
And it could have been maybe just a little bit of overconfidence. We saw Solo going for a fairy charm buy extremely. Like, he wound up selling it. He didn't build anything out of it.
I'm almost positive, like you said, that was a misclick of some kind.
I'm kind of hoping it was a little bit of a misclick, but this is definitely Gold Coin United. Like we said, they've kind of woken up just in time for the playoffs. They're looking extremely strong. They are playing a calm and slow pace kind of controlled play style, but I mean, this is a team that they said that they really listen to Mad Life. This is a team where Santorin's trying to step up as a leader. Santorin played a very vision-centric game when he was a part of TSM and some of the other squads that he was in competitive play. Mad Life has been on CJ Entus for such a long time, and even in the LCK, they wind up having some of the longer game times in that. So even though this play style isn't as explosive and flashy as maybe some of the top teams from last Challenger Series, even the North American LCS, it's a style that's been working out for them.
Yeah, and they definitely struggled a little bit in the early mid game, but like we said, once they broke the outer ring of turrets, which took a little too long, cresting in the 20-minute mark to do so, they actually took the inner ring very quickly, and they showed that they understood that they wanted to group up with the 4-1, poke them low, and then land a Varus ultimate and try and blow somebody up under the turret. They did all that stuff extremely well, as well as controlling the top side. They got a number of picks there, and that part of the game they played out well. It was just a couple small things they need to really work on.
Well, the minion wave management is one that was very, very good as well, but of course that is going to finish up game number 1. Mark Z and I, we got to take a caster cooldown after that game. We'll be back in just a few minutes with game 2 between Gold Coin United and Team Gates. The Wild Growth has to get used on Vince himself. A flash forward from Solo. He gets exhausted, but still gets the kill through. But he's going to get rooted up, stunned up, cupcaked up, and he winds up going down. GCU wants to collapse. There's the first kill there for Santorin. The Dominus is popped, and that's going to be Renekton coming in as Mash picks up that kill. Strumpus now caught between a rock and a hard place. His GA is going to get popped. A great shockwave from Phoenix, though. Locks up the backline and takes down Lulu. Alorum tries to go in, but GCU are collapsing. They've gotten the Baron. They're taking the fight, and GCU are collapsing on the Team Gates.